My best friend slept with my husband. Now she's the godmother of their child. You know how they say some betrayals cut deeper than others? I always thought I knew what that meant until I lived it. My name is Rachel. I'm 31 years old, and if you had told me 3 years ago that my best friend would one day be the godmother of the child she had with my husband, I would have laughed in your face. Or punched it. Maybe both. Back then, my life was good. Like, actually good. I had just landed a better paying role in the company I'd been grinding at for 5 years. My husband, Daniel, was my rock supportive, funny, kind. We were that couple everyone looked at and said, "You two give me hope." And then there was my best friend, Naomi. We met in university. She was wild, bold, and unapologetically herself. Where I was careful, she was reckless. Where I overthought, she leapt. But somehow, we clicked. I was her balance. She was my fire. Naomi didn't have family, not really. So when I married Daniel, she naturally became part of our home. She had a key. She ate from our fridge. We called her Auntie now around our son, Jamie. Looking back, I remember the first time I noticed it. A glance. A laugh that lingered too long. The way she'd playfully smack his arm during game night and how he'd look at her like he was trying not to look. I told myself I was being paranoid. I loved them both. They loved me. That was all that mattered. God, how blind I was. Started with the little things. Late replies. Locked phones. That weird tension you feel in the air but can't quite explain. I convinced myself I was just exhausted from juggling work, motherhood, and trying to keep the spark alive in our marriage. Until one night, the universe gave me a slap I didn't see coming. Naomi had come over with wine and take out her usual girls' night surprise. Daniel was working late, so it was just us. We talked, laughed, watched a movie. But I noticed she kept checking her phone. Smiling at it. Typing fast. Hiding the screen. I teased her. Who's got you giggling like that? Is there a secret boyfriend I don't know about? She just blushed and brushed it off. Just a guy I'm vibing with. Nothing serious. And I believed her. Because why wouldn't I? But then came the night Daniel left his phone on the kitchen counter while he went out to the garage. It buzzed. Once. Twice. 3 times. All from a contact saved as J. I wasn't going to check it. I swear I wasn't. But curiosity isn't a whisper, it's a scream. And when I opened it, the truth nearly ripped me in half. Naomi was J. And the messages weren't friendly. They weren't even emotional affairs. They were explicit. Things he had never said to me. Pictures. Voice notes. Plans. Fantasies. History. And the worst part. They started while I was pregnant. My hands trembled. I remember leaning on the fridge like my legs would collapse. I wanted to scream. To throw things. To run. But instead, I stood there in silence, listening to Naomi's laughter echo from the living room. Laughing in my house. Eating my food. Making love to my husband in messages while pretending to be my best friend. I didn't confront them that night. I went to bed next to Daniel with my heart pounding and a secret lodged in my throat. Because part of me didn't want it to be true. Part of me was hoping I imagined it. But deep down, I knew. My best friend and my husband were sleeping together. I spent the next 2 days pretending. Smiling. Cooking. Laughing. Dying inside. I would watch Naomi carry my son and feel sick. I'd watch Daniel kiss me goodnight and wonder how many lies were hidden behind that kiss. I was living in a home that no longer felt like mine, just a stage where they played the roles of good people. But I was done being the fool. So I planned it. The next Friday night, I invited Naomi over for dinner. I acted normal. I even set the table for 3. Daniel walked in and looked confused. Naomi gave me her usual fake hug. My hands were shaking, but my voice didn't waver. I poured us all wine. Sat down. And then I said, "How long have you two been sleeping together?" Just like that. No warning. No softness. Daniel choked on his drink. Naomi went pale. The silence was deafening. And then she laughed. Laughed like I'd made the funniest joke in the world. "What kind of sick joke is this?" she said, her voice shaky. Daniel didn't speak. Just stared at the table like a boy caught stealing. I turned to him. "Say something." He finally whispered, "It was a mistake." That's when everything shattered. A mistake. Months of betrayal. Lies. My best friend in our bed while I nursed our child, while I cried from exhaustion, while I trusted them. And all he could say was a mistake. I slapped him. I didn't even plan to, but my body moved before my mind could catch up. Naomi screamed. Daniel stood up like he was going to say more, but I was already grabbing my keys. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to get away before I lost what little of myself I had left. I slept in my car that night. Just parked somewhere and cried like I hadn't cried since my father died. I cried for the life I thought I had. For the woman I was becoming. For the love that now felt like poison in my veins. That was the night I knew. My marriage was dying. And my best friend had helped kill it. I didn't go home the next morning. I couldn't. I drove to my sister's place on the other side of town, still wearing yesterday's clothes, eyes swollen and mind numb. She didn't ask questions. She just opened the door, pulled me in, and let me fall apart in her arms. But after 2 days, I knew I couldn't hide forever. I went back. The house felt different. Like it no longer belonged to me. Like the walls had soaked up all the lies and were now whispering them back at me. I was scared to even walk into the nursery. And then I heard it. A tiny, innocent voice from the living room. "Mama Naomi, can I have juice?" My heart stopped. I walked in slowly and there he was. My son. Calling her Mama. She was on the couch. Hair tied up. Wearing my robe. Laughing with him like they were in some twisted sitcom. Like this was her home now. Like she hadn't stolen everything from me. She froze when she saw me. My son smiled. "Mama." But I couldn't even respond. My eyes were locked on Naomi. "What the hell are you doing here?" I said, my voice low. She stood, holding her hands up. "I was just helping." Daniel said. Daniel said. I cut her off. "So now you two make the rules?" She stuttered, but I didn't wait to hear it. I took my son, walked into the room, and locked the door. And I cried. Not just because my baby called her Mama. Not just because my husband let it happen. But because I was starting to feel like a guest in my own life. And I didn't know how much longer I could take it. I never thought I'd be treated like a stranger in my own home. But every single day after that moment, it became more obvious. They didn't just want control. They wanted me gone. It started subtly. Naomi started making suggestions. "We should switch the baby's formula, he spits this one out a lot. Maybe he sleeps better in the guest room, it's quieter. He seems confused when you breastfeed, have you thought about stopping altogether?" Daniel stopped defending me. Stopped even pretending to be neutral. He just sat there, scrolling on his phone, nodding like everything she said made sense. And my son, God, my son. He started reaching for her more than he reached for me. Not because he loved her more, but because she was always there. Always smiling. Always making things easier while I struggled just to hold myself together. I tried to fight for my place. I spoke up. I cried. I begged. I yelled. And one night, after Naomi accidentally threw out my breast pump, I finally snapped. I told Daniel, "This is my baby. This is my house. And if she doesn't leave, I will." He didn't even look at me when he said it. "Then maybe you should leave. You clearly need help." My legs gave out. I had to grab the edge of the dining table to keep from falling. He didn't flinch. Naomi just picked up the baby and walked away like it was a regular Tuesday night. I slept in my car that night. I don't know what made me do it that day. Maybe it was the way Naomi started answering the door holding my baby like he was hers. Maybe it was the way Daniel stopped using the words "our son" and started saying "the baby." Whatever it was. I went to the hospital. I just wanted a copy of my son's birth certificate. I had this aching need to see my name on it. Anything to remind me that I was his mother, not some babysitter in my own life. But when the nurse printed it out and handed it to me, my hands started shaking. I looked again. And again. My name wasn't there. Under mother's name, me blank. Just blank. I thought it was a mistake. It had to be, right? I told the nurse there must be an error. I gave birth to him right here. She checked the system again. Nope, this is what was entered the day of birth. Only the father's information was recorded. No maternal entry. I went cold. Naomi's sister worked at that hospital. She was on duty the night I gave birth. I remembered her now, buzzing around the delivery room, smiling too much, whispering to the nurses in corners. Did they plan this? Was that why Naomi always acted like he was hers? Was that why Daniel never corrected her? I left the hospital in a fog, the birth certificate clutched in my trembling hand. I didn't go home that night. I just sat in a small, cheap hotel room with a towel over my lap and my baby's picture on my phone, asking myself one question over and over again. How did I let this happen? I had two choices. Break completely, or fight with whatever was left of me. I chose to fight. It took me 2 weeks to come up with a plan. 2 weeks of pretending I was okay. Smiling when Naomi handed me my son like I was a stranger borrowing someone else's child. 2 weeks of Daniel barely speaking to me, except when he was making sure I stayed in line. But I was watching. Listening. Waiting. I found a lawyer, one who specialized in maternal rights. I showed him the blank birth certificate, told him about the hospital, about Naomi's sister, about everything. He looked at me with a kind of stunned silence before saying, "This is a serious case. But you're the mother. You gave birth. We can fix this." It gave me strength. Just hearing someone believe me. It sparked something. Then, the night Naomi and Daniel were out at some business dinner, I did it. I packed a single bag, picked up my baby and walked out of that house. I didn't look back. I turned off my phone, deleted my social media, moved 2 states away, and with my lawyer's help, began the process of proving my maternity and reclaiming my identity not just on paper, but in every way. It wasn't easy. There were court dates. DNA test. Ugly moments where Daniel tried to paint me as unstable, unfit, irrational. But facts don't lie. And neither does a mother's love. 6 months later, I held the new birth certificate in my hands. My name. Printed clearly. Today, my son is 2. He calls me Mama with this silly grin that melts every scar on my heart. We live in a tiny but safe apartment. I work part-time and bake cupcakes for extra cash. It's not glamorous, but it's real. It's ours. And sometimes, when I rock him to sleep, I whisper. They tried to erase me from your life. But love doesn't disappear. It rises.